My brain transplant is actually a running joke. People would ask me what you were in the hospital for, and I'd always tell them, I'm in here for a brain transplant. They were always taken aback. They had to think about it for a minute, though, to see to wonder if it was really possible they were which it isn't yet. It was my first indication that people believe that technology can do anything today, even a brain transplant. Actually, DBS, Deep Brain Stimulation, is a thin wire thin wire is the only thing that goes in the brain. It can be as effective as a brain transplant, though. I had an alternate name, but it had already been taken. The Brain That Wouldn't Die was a cheap horror movie from the early 60s. It has the distinction of being the worst movie ever made. A woman is killed in a car crash, but her head and brain are kept alive by her fiancé, who happens to be a brain surgeon. Her head is plopped on a kitchen table and kept alive in a pie tin full of protoplasmic liquid that looks suspiciously like dry ice in water. In the movies of the 50s, science was considered both the cause of evil and a solution to it. It was the beginning of our faith in rational science, or irrational as the case may be. We watched this right before the surgery, just to get in the mood. That's my wife and me in a short hike 2 weeks prior to the surgery. For the most part, for the past 8 years I've coped with Parkinson's, or Michael J. Fox disease as it was undoubtedly become known. For the first 6 years it wasn't really a struggle, just an inconvenience to have me spilling the milk, drooling in the bean dip, and moving my right arm and leg incessantly. It was a nuisance, all right, a nuisance for anybody else in the room. I found it quite amusing. More recently, however, the joke has been on me. I've developed insomnia, painful muscle cramps, and I walk like a klutz. The symptoms forced me to retire from my job as a local newspaper editor. I was once a mover and shaker in this town, now I'm just a mover and a shaker. I don't know what inspired me to put drooling on as a hobby. It must have been a journalist in me, you know, words and all. I took 10 to 11 pills a day with limited relief and several side effects that you don't want to hurry about. The worst is dystonic dyskinesias that makes my leg curl up in painful postures. Still, there is one pill that makes my side effects I find quite tolerable. Elias not quite so sure about this pill, so I have to slip some into her coffee from time to time. Anyway, these are the factors that brought me to Charlottesville, Virginia to have deep brain stimulation surgery. DBS is a relatively new technique that, when successful, controls the major Parkinson symptoms like tremor and the severe muscle cramping known as dystonia. The University of Virginia Medical Center has an excellent record with DBS, performing one a week, so I chose them. That and the fact that my brother works there, it never hurts to know somebody. UVA has a team approach to DBS. I saw several professionals at the same time. They tested me thoroughly. I thought it was because my brother was on staff, but they do it for all their patients. Before and after the surgery, I saw a neurologist, a neurosurgeon, a neurotherapist, a neuronurse, a neurointern, and a neurofellow, who was actually a woman, go figure. There was also a neural sales rep from the company that makes the devices that would be implanted in me, and a neuroreceptor at the front desk, whose name was Darlene. As you can see, I was in the hands of a bunch of neurotics. This is my neurosurgeon, Jeff Elias. To think that I would put my brain in the hands of a kid who looks like he's 19 years old shows how much faith I have put in science. I guess if you're having high-tech procedure done, you want someone who knows their way around a computer. And today, that's a young person. Hence, I have Laura running my computer. Jeff explained how he expected the operation to go. He said he would stick a needle the length of a Buick into the 2 holes he fills in my head. He will do this at an excruciatingly slow speed, taking up to 4 hours to reach his target, a dysfunctional piece of spongy goo known as the subthalamic nucleus. He explained that the operation must be done while I'm awake. Needless to say, I was a little concerned. Here I am clowning around in the waiting room the morning of the surgery. All the people who were getting operations that day lined up and each told what they were in there for. When it was my turn, I told Darlene that I was in for a brain transplant. But she didn't miss a beat. She just replied, "Honey, I'm at the front of the bus for that operation." Anyway, before the operation, several people whom I respect told me they would pray for me. Even though I had no plans to pray for myself, I was touched by their sincerity. Did they really get down on their knees and ask God to protect me, I wondered? If it were anyone else, I would have thought the gesture foolish. But since it was me, I kind of liked it. First thing, they put a halo on my head, but not one like one the angels wear. It is not gold, but titanium, and it doesn't float because it's literally screwed into my head. This, when connected to a harness, will keep my head from moving during the delicate procedure, which is what they call operations these days, so as not to scare the bejesus out of the patient. My family got to see me only once after that, before they wheeled me in, and I think I made a pretty sobering sight. We joked about whether the surgery would leave me with amnesia, a side effect in rare cases. I think I made some lame joke about how they've got oral medication for that now. It's called milk of amnesia. You can see why they wanted to get to my brain. It's so quickly. This is John Quad. He's my orderly, my neuro orderly. He's kind of a clown, so we got along. But later he double-crossed me when he helped the other orderlies pry my clenched hands off the gurney to get me in there. They never would have done it if they weren't so sweaty. Imaging is very important to the procedure. Without modern imaging equipment, the job would be impossible. They did two MRIs, numerous x-rays, and a CAT scan.
Is that really you?
Yes, that's my head. Can anyone guess what these are? No?
No?
That's the money you save by going to All right, so here we go. I'm in the OR now. I'm right there. There's no turning back. What am I doing here, I ask myself. Why did I let them talk me into this? My surgeon has prepared me for the drilling. Remember, I must be awake during this operation. On the left side of the picture is a fluoroscope-like device that when combined with the other images they have, gives them a 3D roadmap of my brain. As I fought off the terror, I thought about the first guy who volunteered for DBS. Can you imagine what they told him? Oh, we'll just drill a couple of holes in your head and stick tiny wires in deep in your brain, then turn the electricity on. See if maybe it helps. What faith he must have had. That's my brother, Dr. Scott Syverud, checking up on my progress. When this photo was taken, I was probably in the operating room, cursing his name. They were always monitoring me, though. At one point, I think there were about a dozen of them in the OR. That's a lot of neurotics. Anyway, they took good care of me. This machine operated my blood pressure, my ECG, my EKG, and my MOUSC. Anybody guess what this monitor is down here, these waves? No? No? It's the stock market. The doctor's check their portfolio. Typically a good day for the market. That's Jeff on the right side with his neural intern named Sean. They're looking intently into my brain as like they found something in there. Maybe it was that nickel I put up my nose when I was 5. If you don't like seeing me with my head open, turn away. There's the needle, and there's my brain going in there. Naturally, I didn't take this picture. It's inserted ever so slowly by the machine. If I had seen this picture for the operation, I would have been praying like crazy. They are targeting the precise spot responsible for the Parkinson's. When they find it, they will install a tiny electrode there. They go for optimal positioning. A millimeter difference can make a big difference in the result. The brain has no nerves, so it doesn't feel the needle. The patient is awake and pain-free. The electrode, or lead as it is called, is inserted in the brain. When the lead is placed in the right spot, I feel the tremors end. They experiment with the voltage. One zap makes me slur my words and talk like this. After they got the lead placed, they put me to sleep, thank God, and then they ran the wire under my scalp, down my neck, and implanted a neurostimulator in my chest, which is like a pacemaker. The whole operation was over in 4 or 5 hours. Next slide already. That's me. After about a half hour in recovery, they rolled me up to the floor where I got to see my family. At first, I faked amnesia. I think I said, "Who are these people?" "I demand to see my wife, Christy Brinkley." That's when they knew I was back to normal. Well, not exactly normal, but I was bad. I spent 2 nights in the hospital feeling like I had the world's worst hangover headache. But I got constant care attention there, mostly from my daughter and wife. Dr. Scott was always checking on me too. So I spent the next 2 weeks at my daughter's place in Virginia, which isn't too hard to take. It had this view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. And the apple blossoms were just coming out. My symptoms were still there, and I was still taking my medication, but I didn't mind. I was happy to have survived. I considered saying a prayer of thanks then, but I figured I made it this far without God, I could make it the rest of the way. Then, after recovering from the surgery for 2 weeks, it was time to turn me on. My family was all excited about this day, but frankly, I didn't expect much. I had high hopes, but low expectations. Attenuating the device is Bob Freisinger, a neuroelectrophysicist. I hold the remote over my implanted neurostimulator while he zaps me in different places with various voltages. If I stop shaking, that's good. But if I start to glow in the dark, he knows he's using too much juice. When he gets me tuned in well, my tremors disappear. I don't know it at the time, but the tremors would not appear at all since that day, and it's been more than 3 months now. Then Bob trained me how to use the remote. Yes, there's a remote control for my brain. He warns me not to lose it in the couch pillows or let the dog get a hold of it. From that matter, I now hide it from my wife because it has 2 buttons called wash dishes or just cuddle. So I'm worried she'll take advantage of it. This is a close-up of the remote. It's a simple design and a clean look. But more importantly, it's easy to work. If it were as complicated as my daughter's cell phone, I think I'd end up electrocuting myself. You have to be careful when you have voltages running through your brain, though. Various device can turn it off, or worse, cause brain problems. I have a card that gets me through airport security, and some security devices might turn me off. Lowe's is a big offender, Bob told me. So I went to Lowe's last month and tried it. Everything worked fine, so I shoplifted a power drill. Anyway, after he turned me on, I felt so good the next morning I made a 3-mile hike around Ivy, Virginia, in the foothills of the Blue Ridge. It was still winter up here, but down there spring was coming. As I watched the butterflies flutter over the wildflowers and the forsythias burst forth with their golden blossoms, I felt like the clock had been turned back to the way it was 10 years ago. That was when I thought about God again. Once again, the drugs I used to take, up to 13 a day, and my drugs now, 2 Cinemax. If I miss a dose, I don't worry because it doesn't have severe repercussions. I kind of miss the Viagra, though. I stayed in Virginia for 2 more weeks because I wanted to be near the hospital in case something went wrong, like an infection. There I am playing tennis at a local park about 3 weeks after DBS. I just wanted to get active, and tennis was a great way to do it. I asked the doctor if I could play, and he replied that I could. That's great, Doc. I never could before. About 3 weeks after surgery, I was looking and feeling great. A woman I know saw this slide, and all of a sudden she was quite interested in the procedure. husband done it. He doesn't even have Parkinson's. I wanted so much to thank everybody, the surgical team. Well, what kind of gift do you give to someone who gave you your life back? Then I hit upon the perfect gift. Worst movie ever made on DVD. Anyway, that's my story. I realize I'm a lucky guy. I know others suffer far more with PD than I do. Some of them don't have the resources or the great family support I do. Sure, it can be an ordeal, but as I look back, I realize it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Sure, it was a miracle of science, but was it a miracle of God as well? Did one of those people who prayed for me carry some influence with the old fella? Did some intelligent designer put the idea for DBS into some researcher's mind with the express purpose of saving me 10 years later? The least I could do is get down on my knees and say thank you. What would you do? Anyway, thank you to my production assistants in here, to my pride and joy, Gretchen and Jenny. And today I want to thank my unofficial niece, Laura Horwood-Benton, who skipped breakfast so she could be here today. Laura will also sing later. She will sing Amazing Grace. And on the fourth verse, I'd like everybody to join.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, I have already come. 'Twas grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home.
Producer and editor Daniel Brigham.